Action. Hanging out with my friend again. Hanging out my friend again. Hanging out my friend again. Tristen Law, what up, dude?
Nothing much, Corey. Thanks for having me. I've never gotten an intro to where it was like just for me.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to keep it. I'd like to keep it as specific as possible.
Can I get my intro again?
Hanging out my friend again. Hanging out my friend again. Hanging out my friend again. Welcome, Tristen Law.
Oh man, Corey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here on Evolving with Corey Castle, and I have not seen you in such a long time.
It's been too long, honestly, and I think I have to say I did your podcast, the Tristen Law Show, and I had a blast. I had a great time, and there was so much that when I listened back to it, I was like, why didn't I ask those questions? Why didn't I ask you questions? Because most of the time I'm in host mode, and when I was in guest mode, I was like, oh, I'll just let Tris ask me these questions, and I'll continue to let it flow the way he decides to let it flow. But I was like, man, we didn't get much into your career, and we didn't get much into your life. So it's like, you know what? I'll put the host hat on. I'll put the host hat on and let Tris get the guest pass in this Planet Evolving, Planet Fitness.
Well, in your defense, I was still brand new. You were episode 5 on the Tristen Law Show, episode 5, season 1, episode 5 of the Tristen Law Show. So I was still brand new, and you probably, Corey, were one of the first people that I reached out to that I didn't know personally. You were a recommendation by somebody else.
That was a Dave knows.
That's right, and Dave knew, and ever since then we've been cool.
Yeah, dude. I have to say, the one of the coolest things that I've noticed about you since I started following you at that point, I've noticed that like every time I'm thinking a thing, like if I read a thing and I'm thinking it, I'll look in the comments and you'll have already said the thing I was thinking, or like you'll have already asked the questions that were going through my head, and I was like, man, you are a thorough dude, very thorough.
Well, you know, one of the things I like to do, Corey, is use my social media, especially Twitter. And anybody that's watching, you could follow me at the Real. Not that you could follow me, you should follow me at the Real Big Tris on Instagram and Twitter. Because for me, I like to use my social media to get myself and the Tristen Law Show and everything else that I'm doing over. You know, I work my social media. I don't let my social media work me.
Right. Yeah. It's weird because you did it more of like a call to action, which I don't do enough of. When you're like, oh no, not that you could follow, you should follow me.
Right.
I think everything goes into and I say this constantly. Everything goes into there's this amount of effort that I'm putting out to put a show out for you, and for nothing, and it's not that it's not a chore for me. It's absolutely a pleasure. But if the least you can do is show me the tiniest bit of effort, like that's really the least that you can do. So when it comes to those calls of actions, which to me, I always feel like they're like very phony baloney. I feel like when I'm like, oh, please go ahead and like and subscribe and follow, like, oh, I'm saying please, and I'm begging, and it's needy, and it's desperate, and it's thirsty, and it's like, man, I am thirsty. Why I'm carrying this jug around with me? I'm thirsty as hell.
You know what? I don't have a jug today. I came prepared. I have a cup. It's a large cup. I can get about 4 pours of the gallon of water in here. I'm trying to be more civilized with pinky up. But you see, Corey, one of the things that I do outside of wrestling is that I'm a salesperson. I've done sales for an extremely long time. And right now I even sell houses. And one of the things that I realized a long time ago in sales, Corey, is you got to ask for the sale. So we sell them ourselves through our content, whether it be a podcast, it be a YouTube video, you know, whatever it may be. And some people, they like it, but they don't think to subscribe. You know, they think, wow, this is great. You know, maybe I can come across this again the next time. But we ask them to subscribe because if you like what you see, the best thing you can do is subscribe. And when I come back on again, you can see it. The pinky's still up, by the way.
Right. You get notified. You get notified every single time. Every single time a new episode drops.
Right.
If you subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts every single Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time, you're going to get a new episode. But if I were on YouTube, you get them when they go up.
Right. So that's why a lot of people don't understand. That's why we need people and we ask people to subscribe and to follow, because you never, like, I just dropped a special clip of the next episode, and it's featuring Darius Carter, and it's going to have.
Never heard of him.
You never heard of Darius Carter?
I'm kidding. It's my friend.
And he's talking about MJF, and anybody that already subscribed, they knew because it popped up as something new, and they listened. And I've been getting some good feedback on that, and I'm excited for people to listen to the episodes and every episode there forward. But if you're watching this right now, Evolving with Corey Castle, or you're listening to this, just go ahead and Hulk Hogan smash the like and the subscribe button. And you know what? The best thing that you can do is share this with people if you really like it. Why make this be a dirty secret? Make everybody else know.
Well, it's like, you ever watch Al Snow shooting interviews?
Yes.
Al Snow would say this thing was like, he was known as like the best known secret, or the best known secret in pro wrestling. He's like, I don't want to be a secret. I don't want to be a secret. Like, I'm good on purpose. Like, right. I don't want to be a secret. And I identify with that so hard. And I identify with like tons of stuff that Al Snow says. And it means so much. Like, he would say a lot of stuff in his shooting interviews that apply to things that I already thought in real life. So as far as like, psychology and things like that, when he talks about like throwing one good punch that somebody can sell right, as opposed to just like throwing as many as you possibly can, because I can't make one thing mean more than
10 things.
More than 10 things. Yeah.
Right. Facts.
Yeah. So you're still in ring. You're still active in ring wrestler.
Yeah, I'm still active in ring. I thought about it the other day, Corey, and I figured that I would love to be a professional wrestler. Look, I don't mind living a career like the Brooklyn Brawler, where my job is to go to AEW or Ring of Honor, whatever. My job is just to put somebody over, get somebody over, and then get out and go on to the next one. I'm okay with that. But I'm also okay being a world-renowned pro wrestler who podcasts, but I'm also okay being a world-renowned podcaster who wrestles on the side. If I can get a combination of any of those two things, Corey, my life is fulfilled. Like, what else do I want?
I say this, and you absolutely apply this if it works for you. I say every one of those things feeds the other things.
You're right.
So if I'm a comedian, I'm like, oh, check out my podcast. Check out my podcast. You hear me talk about wrestling. Oh, this guy's a wrestler. Let me YouTube his wrestling. I love wrestling. Oh, this guy wrestles and he hosts a podcast, and it goes that cyclical everything feeding itself. Hopefully, ideally, that's where it will get to when the audience that I desire really finds me while I'm doing the work, crawling towards them.
Right, and I 100% agree with you as well too, because like for my podcast, the cover itself, I have a professional headshot. That's what I have. I could easily put a photo. Right, that's my pose. I've sold some houses with that pose too.
That's a park bench. That's a park bench podcast.
Wait, just exactly. But I want to, when people, the way I promote my podcast is where I introduce people to the personalities in and out of the pro wrestling ring, and it's unique because you don't have to be a pro wrestling fan to enjoy the podcast. And when you listen to our episode, Corey, episode 5, we talk about pro wrestling, but we talked about so much more other things. I still can't believe that you swiped left on Halle Berry, but we talk about all those things. This much.
It's funny because I think about the thing I said on your show that was the first time that thought ever came to my mind to say it out loud. I was like, the thing I'll say to AEW or Impact or whoever's looking at me, Ring of Honor or whatever. Like, nobody you got's anything like me. You
Right.
ain't never seen a motherfucker like me.
Right.
So it's like, that's a confidence that I need to actually carry, and it's tough when you're thirsty like this, when you're hungry like this, and no one feeds you.
Right.
Like, it would be so easy for somebody with a blue check mark to give me the good rub,
Right.
you know, but I'm a hungry dog. You know what I mean? I just got to continue to be a hungry dog and sniffing for scraps where I can find them. And in the meantime, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, because I want to speak with people who want to speak with me. I want to speak with people who are not only want to give me their time and their effort, but like fascinate the shit out of me with their stories. You know what I mean? Fascinate the hell out of me with who they are and what makes up the life lessons that helps them evolve into who they are.
Right. Hey, you know, it's funny too, Corey. You were talking about the blue check mark. There are a lot of people out there with the blue check mark who we would love to have on our platforms. Right. However, I really don't want too many of them on our platforms, because, not for nothing, a lot of the people with the blue check marks, they don't promote when they're on it, right?
Right. Yeah, I've had a few.
And the reason why they don't promote is because they feel, it's their right. They feel that once you see their name, that's all the promotion that you need.
Right.
But my whole thing too, though, is like, if you interview a guy, like I interviewed a guy, Corey Cooper from NYWC down there in Deer Park. Awesome guy. He's he was on the most recent episode of the Tristen Law Show. This guy doesn't got many followers on Facebook. He doesn't got many followers on Instagram and Twitter. But he promoted the heck out of his episode. He wanted people to hear it. So, like, those are the people that I want to talk to, the people that you don't know, these hungry young cats. And he was one of those hungry young cats that was on my show. And that even leads me to my next thought, which was a tweet that I made the other day. It doesn't matter how big I become or how famous I become, because as long as I have time, I will always do your podcast and I will always do your YouTube channel. Doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
Matter who you. As long as you reach out to me and you say, "Hey, Tris, I want you to come on a podcast or my YouTube," I'm here for you. I put a lot of money into my camera, into my lights and my microphone to make sure that when you put me on your YouTube channel, that you're going to get the best from me. The microphone, so that it sounds well on either the visual and or the audio side, which would be a podcast. So it doesn't matter if you're seeing me and thinking, "Oh, wow, I'm not sure if I want to interview him." Interview me. I want to be on your podcast and I want to be on your YouTube channel, and I will promote the shit out of it.
Honestly, Tris, I have to tell you, in that part, I have to say that's why I like stepped up whatever the video element of the podcast is. So when I do have guests who want to promote, like, yo, use this video, use the video from this, however you want, create whatever clips you want and share them. So like the watermarks are going to show, So I have it so that the names are on the bottom so that you can see who's in here. But on top of that, I have to say, I say very similar things in the fact that, and I'll say it almost on every episode of this podcast. If you're hearing this and you are spending the currency that is your effort on me, know how much I appreciate that in such a way where if you want to reach out to me and just talk to me like a friend, or just have a judgment-free conversation and tell me what's on your mind, if you're going through something, absolutely let me be that resource. I'm not hard to get a hold of.
Right. I'm not either. I mean, I live on Twitter a lot more than Facebook and Instagram. And, I'm in there, looking at booty pics. I love them booty girls on Instagram, but that's not what we're talking about, but I'm only a message away, like, you never know. There are people out there, Corey, that even though, and I hate using this term, but in the lack of terms, we're not big stars. We're not big YouTubers. We're not big podcasters. But there's people that look forward to seeing us and listening to us every single week. And because of that, like the podcast game and the content creating game, our quote unquote customers, and I'm using customers so that people can understand what I'm saying, it's a faceless business because they know who we are, but we have no clue who they are. We know they exist because they're a number. We see it every week.
Mm-hmm. It's like in stand-up. In stand-up, it's a dark room, and I'm having a rhetorical conversation with a group of people who don't get to talk back, who don't get to converse with me. But it's like, this is me going, here's my vulnerability. Like me, validate me. And in that, the validate me goes into like, just hit the subscribe button. That's it. And it's funny when you said the thing about like our customers and like we're not really big stars or anything, but that can get in your own head. And I tweeted something like this earlier just to kind of to remind myself. And I said, in life, people are going to try to devalue you. People are going to try to not respond to you or leave you on red. You have to keep reminding yourself that's not a you thing. That's a them thing. Yep. So it's like I have to remind myself of that because, man, like how many times I've been told no. I'd rather hear no than be told nothing.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. I tried to get a woman on my podcast, a good wrestler. Looks like, she's making her way through and she got a little bit of street cred. I'm like, oh, cool. Let me go ahead and get her on. And I messaged her on Instagram, and she had the decency enough to message me back and said, no, thank you. I'm not interested. Good luck. So I responded, good luck with your future endeavors. I unfriended her after that. I mean, I had no purpose of being friends with her. I thought it'd be cool, as a networking thing. But Corey, you know how many people have messaged me? I mean, that I've messaged them and they've never read the message. Bro, a simple, hey, no, thank you is understood. I wanted Mr. T on the Tristen Law Show, right? He's never messaged me back. Maybe he doesn't know how to use Twitter. I don't know, but I'm sitting in Mr. T's DMs on Twitter.
I tweeted the fool.
That's right. I wanted him on a podcast. I thought it would have been cool for him to talk to because, you know what? Even though everybody complained about his WrestleMania Hall of Fame induction.
Oh, yeah, the Hall of Fame. Right.
Yep.
Because he just prattled on about nothing. And
he talked about his mom
like a poem.
Right. And for me too, growing up, being raised by your mother, I can relate to him. So I thought, and he's in the wrestling business. He's a personality in the wrestling business, but he's more out the wrestling business. Be a great person to talk to and see what he's doing. He didn't message me back. But you know what? This brings me back to my tweet again. No matter how big I am and no matter how famous I ever get, I'll never be too famous or too big or too busy for your podcast. As long as I have time, I will do your podcast and I will do your YouTube or whatever it is that you need me to do. If I become that busy to where I'm missing them, I'm going to set up an email to where you can just shoot. All I want you to do is shoot me anytime. Just book me. Book. As long as it's not costing me any money, I'm not asking you for any. There's a wrestler out there who asked me if I was two wrestlers, and I'm not going to drop their names on this. Two wrestlers, a male and a female, wanted to know if I was going to pay them to be on my podcast. One person told me it was $60 to be on his podcast. Bro, let me tell you something. You want to
I had a wrestler do that too.
I want to talk about it in the end when it's just me and you can see who it was. 100% transparency. I'm not going to pay you to do my podcast. I'm not. You're not. You don't have to get in the car. You don't have. You could do it in your underwear, right? You can make it if you want because I do it on Zoom. You can do it.
We're not going to see you from the waist down anyway.
Exactly. You don't have to wear no drawers. Just show up at the time that we agree. That's it. It's not costing you any money. And you know what? It's an opportunity for them to get themselves over. But granted, they don't need to get themselves over. I need to get me over, right? So by me having them on my show, I'm getting myself over. And I thank them for that. And it may be somebody who doesn't even know who they are.
Well, what's funny, man? You know what's really funny about this? Like the sentence, I have a podcast, want to be on my podcast, is nails on the chalkboard to a lot of people.
Right.
Because tons of people go, yeah, everybody's got a podcast. There's a million podcasts out there. Yes, but no other podcast is hosted by a motherfucker like me. Nobody's got nobody's got the conversation with you that you're going to have with me. Like, you can have another conversation on any of the podcasts where they're going to wind up asking you all the same questions. You're going to get bored of it. And maybe you're going to be like, well, that was an entirely huge waste of my time. With me, I pride myself on not wasting anybody's time. It's like, your time is so valuable. Your time is so valuable. Your effort and your intentions and your attention is so appreciated. I just love it so much. I will not waste it on you. And that makes me think of another thing I wanted to say to you earlier, because you were saying about single mom. Yeah, single moms, dude. Same here. All the way. When I did a bit, I was doing. I do a bit. I'm saying I did a bit, which it's, I'm not doing comedy that much anymore. But I have a bit that I do where I talk about Tupac, right? I talk about Tupac had this song that I really identified with.
Dear Mama.
And he said, a poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it. There's no way I can pay you back, but my plan is to show you that I understand. You are appreciated.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I identify with that so hard until he says, even as a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. I was like, all right, my mom's never been a crack fiend or a black queen.
No, my mother's a black queen. My mother's one out of two.
She's one of those things. But I would say, not only can I not identify with that, but I have to think that Tupac's mom's got to be pretty upset that Tupac put her on blast like that.
True.
Like, yo, did you hear that? Did you hear that at the water cooler at her job the next day?
Right.
Did you hear that new song that Armani's son made about him?
She was a crack
made about her. Yeah, it was real sweet, real nice. He appreciates her. Did you know she was on crack?
But you know what though? I would say though, if I was Tupac's mom, and God rest her soul, if I was Tupac's mom and Tupac said and somebody said to me, "Oh, your son wrote that you were a crack fiend. How dare he do that?" Give me a second. Let me log. I mean, granted, they probably didn't have phones back then, with the internet. But let me log in and show my bank account looks like. My son just put $5,000 in my bank account. What does your son do for you? Oh, your son's a crack fiend.
I laughed a lot. I had another part to that where I was like, and in the song he says, even though I sell rocks, it feels good putting money in your mailbox. I'm like, wait a minute. So you're saying she buys rocks and you sell rocks and you give her money. You're just keeping the rock circulation going. Why don't you just cut out the middleman and put rocks in her mailbox?
Right. Good point.
No?
Good point. Yeah. Real good point. Or maybe at that time she wasn't doing drugs. Fun fact, Tupac, a lot of people think, and I'm going to ask you before I even go in, where was Tupac born?
In a hospital?
Good.
No, I don't know.
In a hospital. A lot of people think that Tupac was born in like he's LA, living, die in LA. No, he was born in Harlem and he moved to the Bronx. And ironically, the building that I moved into years after, in the Bronx in the 70s, it was called the burning of the Bronx, where people would burn down the buildings in the Bronx, New York, to go ahead and collect tax money. So my building was one of those buildings, and they rebuilt it as another building in like 95, 96. So when I moved there, one of the most famous people from our neighborhood, besides me, is Tupac. Tupac lived at the building next door, and Tupac used to date a crack fiend. Well, she was a crack fiend when we knew her. Her name was Carmen. He actually wrote a song about her called Carmen. I believe it's called Carmen. It was like a poem, and he even shouts out our neighborhood in his song. My block is 103rd and Walton Avenue. So, people don't know that Tupac is from New York City. He is. I haven't got a movie, right? I'm pointing because my DVD collection's back here. There's the circle thing that you put in the DVD. Yeah, people don't know what it is. I have one. It's called
What is that? What does a DVD even do? I don't even know. What is a DVD?
You're supposed to rest cups on it. So, I have one from Tupac. It's called Thug Immortal. And I've had that a bunch forever. And the only reason I keep it is because there's a guy that I knew who lived in the hood with us, and he was friends with Tupac. And he used to always say, yo, I know Tupac. Tupac was my friend. That was my boy. We used to always walk around. And you already know, man, you know, these guys talking about, they know something. Come on, man, stop lying, man. Everybody know Jadakiss, right? Everybody know Jadakiss. Everybody know Biggie. Everybody lived next door to Jay-Z, right?
Is Jadakiss from that neighborhood too?
No, Jadakiss is from Yonkers.
Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken. But I remember when I moved to Florida, right? The guy's name was Reggie. Reggie passed away years before. Right, he had like a seizure in the street and died. And I remember going down to Florida years later and walking into a store, because I used to have an addiction to where I'd walk into the store and just buy DVDs that I would never take out the package. I'm trying to see if I can find one now. I would never take it out the package. Like I just owned it. It was $5, so I bought it because it was $5. And I saw Thug Immortal, and I bought them. I can't release that CD, but wow, you know, you're getting little snippets of my life with us talking about other things.
I have a huge DVD collection as well. There's tons of them that are still in the cellophane that I never broke out. I'm like, I've seen that movie a ton of times. I've seen that movie a ton of times. And I just want to own it, like a physical medium. You know what I mean? Having ownership of it. But I had another bit. I have to do. Oh man, look at that. Was that Stacy Keibler?
Yeah, that's the WWE Divas South Florida. Okay. Focus. But you know, it's still in the plastic. Why did I get it if it's still in the plastic? Actually, I might remember how I got this one. I worked at AT&T, so I might have two of these. And this time when AT&T was partner with WWE, but it's still brand new. The sad part is I can't sell it because none of these DVDs.
Nobody wants.
They're not worth anything. I can't even.
Everybody's got streaming.
Corey, I can't even give them away.
My friend the other day, the guy I work with every day, he was like, we were in the work truck and he was like digging down next to his seat. And he's like, oh crap, I forgot. I had these in here for you. I meant to give them to you at Christmas time. And I was like, okay. And he was like, had this bag full of DVDs. They were like old DVDs that he was like had doubles of, and he was just getting rid of. And I was like, this is my Christmas gift.
Take it.
All right, I'll take. But it was the Clerks cartoon. Remember the Clerks cartoon that they made? So I already had it on DVD, but I was like, I'm absolutely gonna take another copy of it because it's not streaming on anything,
right?
And I'm a huge fan of that show. I watched the DVD 100 times.
You're right. 100% right.
But there's some things like the same thing like my friend Joe Garifo, he has tons of DVDs and he has tons of like VHS tapes and stuff. And he always posts about them on his social media. Cause he's like, yeah, I want to own the physical copy of this because it's not everything is streaming. Not everything is out there.
You're right.
On the internet.
I have old WWF VHSs because my manager, this is years ago. I don't think I was even in wrestling school yet. That's how long ago it was. So it's probably like early 2007. One of my managers, when I was selling cell phones at AT&T, his wife was cleaning out the closet, and he came to work the next day and was like, dude, I got these VHS tapes. My wife wants to throw them away. I know that you're really into wrestling. Do you like them? Do you want them? Hell yeah, bro. I still own a VCR just for those. Granted, I don't watch them. I could easily watch them on the WWE network, you know, or Peacock or wherever the hell it's going. I have these DVDs, these VHS tapes, cassettes that I can watch of not only the pay-per-view, but I can watch the Sunday Night Heat before, and some of them I can watch the Monday Night Raw after and relive the whole experience. Bro, well, that was fun.
That was such a cool part of being a fan, watching Sunday Night Heat leading up to the pay-per-view and then watching the pay-per-view and then watching Raw the next day. Like that was all part of the experience that is kind of gone now. I mean,
I agree.
Sunday Night Heat don't come on anything. Like,
but you know what? It's because it's so accessible to watch. Because I remember, bro, before we got the illegal cable box, and I tell the truth, we had the illegal cable box. Before the illegal cable box, I would watch Sunday Night Heat, and then that'd be it. I'd be sitting there with the cable box on the top, pressing the buttons back and forth. You know how we used to watch porn when it was so pixelated? I watched a couple of wrestling pay-per-views like that by going back and forth, right? And just hoping that I would be able to see and hear a little bit of wrestling. That's all I wanted.
Dude, honestly, before my friend Scott, the guy who I was telling you about who gave me the Clerks DVD,
Right.
I used to go to over his house or his cousin's house, and we'd watch. They had the illegal boxes, so we would watch the pay-per-views over their places. But like before that, I used to just put on the cable while it was fuzzy, and I would just listen to like JR and King.
Right. That's how we used to have to live back then. Like, you understand how like prehistoric that is? There are people that are listening to and watching this that don't live. Like, look, let me explain to you how prehistoric this is. You and I, Corey, we grew up in we were in the last generation of kids that did not have the internet. Yeah. There's a generation, there's like one or two generations after us that grew up, and as far as they knew, they've been connected their entire lives. I remember having to sneak the internet in the middle of the night, and so prehistoric, porn wasn't accessible on the internet back then. You either had to pay for it, and not only did you have to pay for it, you'd get a virus. So because I didn't have money to pay for it, I would go to the virus sites at 12, 13 years old. But keep in mind, Corey, there's a whole generation behind us that used to keep dirty magazines. Don't worry, I had a magazine, but I was on the cusp of the internet.
Did you see? Are you a fan of John Mulaney?
No.
John Mulaney does this bit, and I hate to butcher it, but it was like his mom found under his bed he had a Cosmopolitan magazine and one cigarette under his hidden under his bed, and his mom found it and was like, "I found your treasure. I found your treasure." And she went and told his dad about finding it under the bed. I found one cigarette and a Cosmo under John's bed. And he was like, he said that his dad was like, "How does he know how to make a Cosmo?" but yeah, the generate, like when I go to do seminars or anything in the ring now, when I have to like tell people when I'm teaching them stuff, I'm like, you understand how good you got it? Like, YouTube didn't exist when I was training. Like, I couldn't watch any of that stuff. Like, I have to go through archives of people's VHS collections to watch stuff. Like, when my first match I ever had, my theme song was on a cassette tape.
Oh, wow.
So it just shows you how long it's been.
Well, you see, because I was a generation after you. So when I went to wrestling school, we didn't have this. We had YouTube, obviously, but I used to have to pay. I think it was maybe, let me make up a number. It's maybe $50 a year. And I would get access to the whole entire WWE library. This was before it was organized into this thing called the WWE Network. So I would go on the website and I would say, you know what? I want to watch this wrestler. And I would go there and study it. But what I used to do, you used to bring yours on a cassette. I used to bring mine on a CD.
Right.
And there's a whole generation after us, right, that emails it to the promoter and goes, here is my music.
Or just show up today and be like, oh, look it up, it's on YouTube. And I mean, I've had to do that too now. But back in the day, I didn't leave my house for a show without a CD of my music in the bag.
That's right. You had to bring your music and your gimmicks to sell. Right.
I had a DVD. This is my trick. And I don't know if anybody else ever did this, but I know this is my trick. I would take a DVD case, like whatever DVD case that like I wasn't using, or like a blank one, and I'd like flip the label around so it was just blank white, and I'd write Corey Castle track 1, and I'd pop it in the disc in that DVD case and carry that with me, so the sound guy knew whose it was and knew how to give it back to me. Like it was making it easier for the sound guy to make sure I'm getting my music back. And sometimes I'd have to like burn like 4 different CDs of it because like I'd be leaving it some places.
Of course. One night you worked. You know what? It could have been one night you're working a double shot where you're doing 2 shows in one night. You
Less
leave
than a show,
right? You know, now you can't show without your music. Like, come on. What are you, a rookie?
What a noob move.
Yeah, right. How long have you been wrestling? I carry my music now sometimes as well in my fanny pack, and a lot of people don't understand. You know, fanny packs make life easier. You know, especially when you're traveling and doing everything else like that. You see? Okay, you see? There you go. In my fanny pack, I carry a thumb drive with my music on it.
Okay, there you go.
Never know.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, how often have you been working since like the pandemic and stuff happened? Have you been working at all?
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to my pro wrestling career and to my entertainment career, the pandemic has been very gracious to me. And I'm not trying to say it in like a morbid way, because before the pandemic, bro, I was hurt. Like I dislocated my finger, and like, you know, I'm now able to like, you know, make a full fist. You know, like when you dislocate a joint, it doesn't heal right after they put it back in. It's still swollen, it's still traumatized and whatever. You know, my knees were bad, my back is a little bad, you know, it just a lot that's going on. And because the pandemic came on, I got a chance to take a break, because I'm not mistaken, my last match was early March, late February, and I didn't wrestle again until maybe, September. So by the time it came back, like the body was feeling a little bit better. But in that whole entire time as well, too, I got to work on the Tristen Law Show, and I got to, you know, perfect that. But when it comes to wrestling, you know, I still take dates, you know, here and there. You know, I still sit in the far corner. I don't congregate or hang out with everybody because, you know, I don't know how everybody hangs out. So, you know, I got to protect myself and those that are around me. So, you know, I still take the bookings as they come along if it makes sense financially, and, you know, and it's financially makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it weighs out to pros and cons, and like, what's the risk versus reward factor? What am I getting out of this? What experience can I gain through this that will maybe help somebody else or help me? Or to me, I look at it like these moments and these memories that I'm creating. A lot I don't want to say that I can like predict the future in a lot of ways, but I'm looking at it like a lot of these people that I've like helped through with understanding psychology and stuff. I think they're gonna make it. Like I think they're gonna be big in the business, and like for them to be like, well, you know, the person who helped me grasp it was Corey.
Right.
Don't forget about me. Like, you know. So I'm just hoping. The fun thing about it is I'll have conversations with people and I'll realize that I didn't make an impact. I'll not realize that I made an impact on them as much as I actually did. Like someone will be like, you seem to be the only one around in this area that was doing it right. Or you seem to be the one who was doing it the most right. The most way you're supposed to be doing it. And I'm like, I was just faking it. I didn't know I was, you know what I mean? In my head, I was like, I was dealing with imposter syndrome and like, oh, do I belong here? Well, like the part that I was dealing with back then, I'm gonna say, I'm going to go back as far as like 2008 or 9. What I was struggling with was like, if somebody made me their champion in any way, I automatically felt like I didn't deserve it. Like I always felt like so many other guys were better than me and deserved it more than I did. So like if they called me champ, I would be like, like it would just like dig at me a little bit. Like, the person calling me champ probably deserves to be champ more than I do. Like, but and it goes back to like, it's not a real competition. I didn't win anything, and that's something that when I first got into it, I had to struggle with that through my friends groups, because like my friends who weren't wrestling fans would be like, I couldn't do it because I couldn't lose. Like I couldn't let somebody beat me. I'm like, yeah, but it's like a movie. It's like a
show, right?
It's a show. It's a story. Like they're not winning because they're better than me. They're winning because it serves the story.
Right, that's correct. Because some of these people, you can legit beat the shit out of them, but it's a story.
Right. So it's all a part of like suspending what your disbelief is. And I would say it all the time. It's like the person who's in the ring with me isn't my enemy. Like we gotta make this look good together. We gotta teach each other, and we gotta learn from each other. We gotta be on the same page here to make sure. Is that what kind of cup is that?
It's the Toronto Blue Jays cup. I got because I have a Canadian family. Shout out to Karen, Joel, and Mackenzie. So when I went to the Toronto Blue Jays game, I'm always looking for a discount. So this cup here, if you fill that cup up once, and I think I probably paid like $1 million for it. I could fill it up as many times. I got one of those when I went to WrestleMania 35 in MetLife Stadium as well too. You fill it up and you drink once. It's a deal. Like, come on. Especially if you're charging me $1 million, I am going to drink a lot of orange Fanta or Pepsi, or Mountain Dew, depending on where I am. And I'm going to get my money's worth. The hell, don't you give me any kind of deal and making it look like what? No, bro, let me tell you, there's two things in my life that I don't do, that I don't like to do. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not a big alcoholic drinker. I do have a couple of bottles of Modelo in the fridge. I might drink one tonight. I don't know, but I'm not a huge drinker. I don't need to drink, right? But the thing I don't like to do, is go to all you can eat and all you can drink alcohol. Because if I'm paying, let's say, $40 to enter, right? And now I have access to the Garden of Eden, I'm going to make sure I get your money's worth. I paid. Yeah. So like when I go to the Golden Corral, or some other kind of buffet, when buffets were a thing. You remember buffets before COVID? Yeah, me too. So
culture buffet,
right? So I would go to the buffet, and I'm not eating the cheap shit. I want the steak. I don't eat lobster, but I'll take lobster just so I can feel like I got ahead and I got my money's worth. I will throw it in the garbage. I'm kidding about that part, but that's pretty much what I do. So yeah, when it comes to a deal where I can get unlimited refills, I'm your guy.
Well. I have a funny story about one of those all you can drink things. I don't drink liquor. Like I don't ever drink hard drinks. Right. Usually if I do like a drinking night, it'll be like beers or something. I just don't mess with spirits.
Right.
I just keep away from it because it makes me emo. It turns me into a little emo boy. And I'm like, I find reasons to be sad about stuff, and I'm like, everybody hates me. I don't know what's going on, but
everybody hurts.
Right.
Sometimes. Sorry.
It was like a New Year's Eve party at some bar, and I was very poor at the time, and I was sitting at this table. With somebody, and I had just taken out like my last money to pay for my ticket to this place from the ATM machine in the vestibule, and I had the ATM receipt in my back pocket. When I got up to go refill my drink, my ATM receipt fell out of my pants pocket, and I came back, and the girl, one of the girls sitting at the table, was like, "Hey, look what I found! Somebody's ATM receipt. This person's broke."
Damn.
And I was like, let me see that. And I was like, shit, that's mine. But I didn't say it out loud. I was like, yeah, what a loser. And I cried. What a loser. Just broke ass fool.
So I got a story like that as well, too, talking about all you can drinks. So mine's ironically was a New Year's Eve party. And it was one of the few times to where I was like blackout drunk, like I'm telling you, I've probably been blackout drunk or hungover twice in my life. The first time I was hungover in my life was when I was like maybe just turning 21. I was maybe 21, almost 22. And my roommates
24 now.
No shit. Well, yeah, that beer club for men. What's that? Just for men. And that. That's right, 25. But anyway. The first time was there was a bottle of tequila underneath the sink. And I was like, you know what? All the roommates are gone. Let me just drink some tequila. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like vodka. So I got a cup and I filled that cup with ice, right? And then I topped it off with a little bit of vodka, right? Right? And then I drank it. The first cup, I must say, went down hard. By the time I was down to the third cup, bro, I'm hurt. So I realized that I can't drink tequila because tequila makes me puke. Bro, the next day, bro, I was sitting here praying to God, like, God, if you ever get me through this, I promise I will never drink again. And God, forgive me because I am a sinner, because I then, which brings us years later into my other story. So I went to the all-you-can-drink place for New Year's Eve. Great. So I got in there, and I'm like, I am not going to drink the cheap stuff. I want the top shelf. So, I want Grey Goose. I want all that stuff. I'm not drinking the cheap stuff. Oh, champagne. Hey, it's all you can drink, right? So I'm going to drink my champagne, and whoever was with me in the group, I'm drinking this champagne too. Bad idea. I had to call out of work the next day. So what do I recommend? Do not invite Tristen to all you can eats or all you can drinks. Badidea.com.
I would like an all you can sleep restaurant. All you can sleep. I'll take all the sleep I can take.
You see, for me though, Corey, I'm not a sleeper.
I love sleep.
I like to get cat naps because here's the way I look at it. When I'm sleeping, those who feel that they compete with me or those who I compete with are getting ahead of me. So what I do is in the middle of the night when I'm up, I'm scheming on how I can make my podcast better. And the way I do that, or how I become a better wrestler or a better entertainer or a better, producer for my podcast or host, I'm on YouTube and I'm watching on YouTube. I Google how to be a better podcast host. And then I fall down a rabbit hole. And then I realize 3 hours have gone by and, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and I got to work at 9. So like for me, that's what I do. I sit on YouTube late at night or I'll just Google how to better produce a podcast, how to become a guest on somebody's podcast. Like people don't know that's a whole entire skill to become a guest on somebody's podcast. They just don't want any old body on their podcast. You have to be a certain kind of character to want to be in a podcast.
Well, I look at that kind of stuff and I look at like experience being the best teacher. Like I don't need to go find out how to do it by somebody who for all intents and purposes ain't lived the type of life I've lived, ain't done doesn't have the life experience that I have or the street smarts that I have. So I really would rather put the burden on me to learn from experience, learn by doing. As Al Snow would say in a shoot interview, experience is the best teacher.
That's true. You're right. Right. Let me tell you, there's a lot of the Wright brothers. I'm sure there's a lot of planes that fell out the sky before they got it right.
Right. They thought they were the wrong brothers for a minute.
Hey, I'm sure. Right. Imagine that. What if their names weren't the Wright brothers? We're going down the wrong rabbit hole. I keep us on track. Sorry.
They were like, no, their name is called our real last name is the Flight Brothers, but they didn't want it to be that spot on.
Right. We're just going to change it to the Wright brothers. How those guys ever do?
Well, they're on license plates in North Carolina. Everybody's license.
Didn't know that.
In North Carolina, the license plates say North Carolina, first in flight. Because
that's what that means.
Yeah, that's because the Wright brothers discovered flying in North Carolina.
Do you understand, Corey, thinking about that, how like technology has grown and how we've invented things as a human race to not only complicate our lives, but to also make our lives better. Like human beings aren't designed to fly. We're not designed to walk on water unless you're Jesus. And we've figured out ways that not only can we fly, but we need to get from one place to the other. So we built a machine with a motor in it. And lucky for you, I could bring my friends and family with me in this motor. Like, we as a human race just continue to defy, and like we're so smart. And it leads me to like, for me, I'm a huge person that believes in astronomy. I love astronomy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I don't believe the world is flat. If you're listening or watching and you believe the world is flat, that it's okay. You're entitled to your opinion. But one of the things I do, Corey, all the time is I look up to the stars. And when you're looking at stars, you're looking at galaxies, right? Those places are so far away. And some of them, the really big ones, are planets. Are we that naive, Corey, to believe as a human race that we're the only intelligent pieces of life form in all of existence?
I was listening to Elon Musk on Joe Rogan yesterday. And he was talking about, he was like, we don't even think about other lives out there, because like they must not want to be found or what, like, so we don't even factor it in when it comes to like putting stuff in orbit and like because there's no evidence of it ever happening.
Right. But here's the way. So you were talking about watching Elon Musk. I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love that guy. Smart brother from the Bronx, just like me. My middle school was actually his high school, the first Bronx High School of Science, going off track. But one of the things that he said was, when you're walking around and you see a worm on the floor, do you ever stop for a second to think how that worm's day is doing? Anybody watching and listening to this right now is going, no, you've never done that. Why have you never done that? Because you think that the worm is an idiot. Because science does prove that we are mentally superior than a worm, right? Okay, so now let's look at aliens. There are aliens out there, right? Like I said, I am not that naive enough to believe that aliens do not exist. And when I mean aliens, they may look like us. They may not be green men. However, they're smarter than us, and they're not concerned with us because they see what we do. Everything that we eat as living things has once lived. Think about your whole entire meal, right? You ate cereal that came from wheat, which was a plant. You ate eggs, right? Eggs were the embryos of a chicken, and we ate that. You ate that poke sausage, not pork, but poke. You ate that poke sausage. That's like grind up pig, and that's what we eat. Orange juice. We take the fruit from the tree and we squeeze it and we drink it. If I didn't know any better, we're savages. I don't want to be concerned with those people because they kill. Not only do they eat living things, some of them, a very few of them, don't eat each other. But what a lot of them do is they kill each other. Imagine that. If you were looking right on a snow globe and you were able to zoom in and it'd be the planet Earth, you don't want to go there. Why would you want to go there? They're unintelligent. They haven't figured out how to fly far in space. They still haven't explored all their planet. Why are we concerned with them?
Right.
We are the worm.
Mm. I get it. I mean, I fully get it. I think honestly, like it's a real solid point to talk about. I think Bill Burr has a joke that he does about it, talking about like something has to die every day for me to eat and be a normal person, like for me to walk around. Like he said he's like, I'm that miserable. Something has to have its beak pulled off and their feathers pulled for me to live a normal life. And if he said like he tried to like go vegan. That was like the bit he was doing on stage. He was like, try to go vegan like 2 days a week or something, but I can't do it.
I mean, essentially everything that we've eaten lived, but again, some people say, oh, well, that cow has a family. The cow doesn't know about his mother. The cow will have sex with his mother. He doesn't know. I mean, well, the cow's the female. The bull will have sex with his mother. He doesn't know, right? To them, that's socially acceptable. He doesn't know that's his mother after a while. I mean, those are some of the crazy things. I'll give you one more crazy things about how my brain works. So a lot of people say, right, Corey, that they don't understand why we drink milk as human beings, right? that we shouldn't drink milk anymore after we're no longer babies because adult cows don't drink milk. You know why adult cows don't drink milk? Because they can't climb underneath there to drink it. That's why they don't drink milk.
Because they don't have thumbs.
Right. They don't have thumbs. Right. They got mouths like, they got lips and mouths and stuff. So that's why we drink milks and adult cows don't.
I think that's a Joe Rogan bit. I think Joe Rogan has a bit that in one of his stand-up specials, he did a thing about he was like, how come human beings are the only, he was like doing an impression of like a vegan. How come human beings are the only thing, man, that drinks the milk of other animals, man? And it's like, because nobody else thought to do it. You ever give milk to a dog? They're like, what? How did you do this?
Right.
Or they don't have to think about where it came from.
You ever give milk to a cat? Some cat shit everywhere.
No, I don't. I never gave milk to a cat.
You don't do it. Don't do it.
I probably won't. Without you saying don't do it, I could tell you most likely never going to do it.
So what else you want to know about me, Corey? Go ahead.
How old are you actually?
Man, so I realized at my last birthday, which was in August, I started to tell people that I'm half 30. So whatever it is that you want to do with it, you do with it, right? So I could either be 15 or I could be 35. Wherever you want me to be. Or you know what? I could be somewhere in the middle. I don't know. You decide.
Well, why that jumping through hoops? Why creating those hoops for people to jump through? And not
because I'm having a crisis. Because every day, Corey, I look in the mirror and there's another hair that decides to turn light. And I have to buy a box from Walmart to make it dark. One of the older guys at my job, I pulled him to the side. I said, bro, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah, Tristan, ask me anything you want. I said, do all your hairs turn gray? He goes, all your hairs turn gray. And I go, do all your hairs turn gray? He goes, all your hair turn gray. Oh. Okay. So if anybody out there didn't know, all your hairs will turn gray. Yeah, or do it. And I think you can only dye the hairs on your head.
Honestly, bro, I think honestly, I always say just own your shit. Like when it comes to your age or whatever, like I don't have any reasons to be insecure in what my age is. Like people go, "Oh, you're too old" or whatever. It's like, bro, I know the years that have gone into making me who I am right now and the wisdom that I have through the experiences that I've lived through. Like I'm the most street smart and intelligent version of me that I've ever been. And that came from the 37 years of experience in this world that I've had. So I will absolutely own it. And I'm like, yeah, I hope by the time I'm 40, I'm a lot smarter.
True.
Right. So
if I could take my brain out and put it into a younger me from 10 years ago, bro, I'd be a genius.
Like you're going to get out yourself.
Right. Yeah, right. I took the time machine because, if you don't know, Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies. So I will jump in the time machine and I will get out myself. And is it Get Out? Yeah. I will get out myself and put my brain in a younger me. Or actually, maybe I can have an older me come back from the future with a computer machine where you can upload all the intelligence into my brain and I could be a much smarter me.
Well, I say all the time. I mean, I don't want to say I say it all the time, but I think it a lot. Where I think about like, dude, how amazing would it be if all the wrestling knowledge and all the smarts that I had, all the experience that I got was in the 2002 version of me when like the business was so good. It was like the best the business could be for the Philadelphia independent wrestling level. Like I think about that all the time. Like when I first debuted, if I was this good when I was first started, and it's funny to think about like how many people make this stuff look easy. You know what I mean? People just Some people just do it and it looks easy for them.
Right.
Maybe a future version of themselves came and implanted the experience points up into their brain.
You're 100% right. Could be true. I think it's plausible. You know, another thing that I learned from Neil deGrasse Tyson was that there is a 50% probability that we are living in a simulation.
Right.
50%. You know, like we play The Sims, right? We could be The Sims right now. There could be some kid out there playing, and we're just a part of his little game.
Do you watch Rick and Morty?
Bro, I love Rick and Morty. That was my favorite show to find during the pandemic.
Yeah,
I hooked on Rick and Morty.
This guy's taking Roy off the grid. I love Roy, and he's like, "Where's my wife?" When Morty gets out of it, he's like, "Where's my wife? Where's my wife? I want to see my wife." It's like, you idiot! That was just a video game. Like, it's like dude, I honestly have been thinking about this since I was a little kid. I remember the moment. My mom had set up like this. We had a toy box that doubled as like a desk, so you could the back of it. It was like a bench, and then it would like fold forward, and it'd be a desk. And I remember sitting on that desk. I was sitting at the desk. Sometimes me and my brother and sister would play school. We would play class, and my mom put like maps of the world on both sides of the walls, like right where the bench was. And I was sitting on the bench like we were playing school, but we weren't playing school. And I was looking up at the ceiling, and to the sides were like the maps. And I was thinking about the stuff I see nobody else sees. Like through my point of view, that only gets seen by me. And I was like, what if like somebody else is watching the TV show or movie that is my life?
Oh, just like Truman Show.
Yeah, but through my eyes.
Oh.
Like they see what I see. Like, so I was like, well, if I'm seeing that, I should make it as interesting as possible. Like I started thinking about like how to like cast the movie that is this life, how to treat other people the way that like you'd want to see the hero. You're the hero in your story. You know what I mean? Right. And it's funny because like Chris D'Elia did a whole bit about this before. R.I.P. Chris D'Elia. But I just say R.I.P. because he's canceled. But he did a bit when he's like, you're not Denzel. Like he was like in the movie that is life, you're not Denzel. And he's like, oh, you're probably some dude who's like, oh, excuse me, let me get out of your way. When Denzel's walking by, you're that guy. And I'm like, I've been thinking this thought my entire life. I've been thinking this thought my entire life about the star of the film that is me.
So okay, so who would play you? I tell you who would play. Okay, so if I would not want to play me, right? Because I'd like to watch them try to be me. But I would choose the brother from Get Out, Daniel Kaluuya. Well, yeah, I think that's how you say his name. I would pick him to play me. I think he looks like me, or maybe, yeah, he looks like me. I don't look like him. He looks like me.
So that's why you say get out myself.
That's right.
You get out yourself into that guy.
That's right. A couple years ago, I would have chose Denzel, but I can't pick Denzel. Oh, you know what? No, you know who I would really pick to play me? Idris Elba, or the I would pick Idris Elba. You know why?
He's so smooth.
Yeah, he could do it. He's a British gentleman, but he could do an American accent, but he could also do a Jamaican accent as well too. So he'd be great.
Do you have Jamaican heritage?
Yes, actually, I am a first generation American. My mother and my father are both from Jamaica.
Whoa.
Yeah, my whole family is. Yep.
So you grew up like super religious in the Jamaican culture in the household?
So my grandmother was a Seventh-day Adventist, and for those that don't know what that is, you don't go to church on Sundays, you go to church on Saturdays. And they celebrate the Sabbath. So, on Friday night, we go to my grandmother's house to be no TV. And as a kid, it's so boring. However, my uncle had video games in the basement, so we'd play video games.
Loophole.
Right. So, so my grandmother would listen to like tapes, to cassettes of the Bible, because she was, more disabled. She had a stroke and whatever. So she would listen to VHS while she'd be sitting there. I mean, VHS to video, cassettes. Yep, to cassettes of the Bible. And then by Sunday afternoon, she could turn on the TV and she'd be watching the news. That's what she used to do. So, we weren't really super religious, but, I mean, they believe, we all believe, sometimes you go to the house and it's like, all right, it's Thanksgiving and somebody got to grace the food. Like, yeah, bro, I just want to eat. Let's give us the short version. So my uncle, people think I'm a clown? My uncle's a clown. So he'd be, my uncle's a clown. My mother's youngest brother. He would give us the short version so we could all just go eat. Yep.
But so where did you land on holding on to some of that like that faith from that idea? Like, were you like hardcore into the idea of like dogma and believing everything that was brought into you, and then like where do you arrive on that, and when do you arrive there on where you currently are?
So for me, one of the things that when I was doing a teenager, I was like really bad. Like my mother always say, you were never a bad kid. But I was bad. I was out there, not really committing crimes, but I was just like doing like things that kids my age shouldn't be doing. Mm-hmm. And my mother wanted to try to put me on the right track. So, when the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on the door, some people pretend like the Jehovah's Witnesses are not there. But my mother would tell me to go open the door and talk to them. So I would talk to them, and then they go, well, we'd like to, eventually it was more of a, all right, well, we don't want to stand in the hallway and talk anymore. We eventually want to come over and do a Bible study with you. So, I was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses for a little while, and, I thought it was something cool, but, here's how my mind worked. I was like, what, a 11, 12, 13-year-old, 14-year-old around those times, maybe. And they're telling me that, the most I can do with a girl is hold hands. I'm already too corrupted. We got free pay-per-view. I've been watching porn for the longest. And they tell me that I can't watch wrestling or play football because it's too violent. At that time, I was like, you know what? I'm not really athletic, but I was in like a football league, it was something to do. Mm-hmm. And they were I couldn't play football or watch wrestling. At that part, I checked out. I really checked out for that. But, I've been baptized before, as a Baptist. I went to a Baptist church in Florida when I was living down there. I was dating this girl, Jessica, and, she wanted to take me to church because her mom thought I was a heathen. Okay, maybe I was a heathen. So I went down to the church and I learned a little bit of stuff down there. And, my mother, I remember my mother's really into the church. In her old age, let me tell you, my mother's into the church. Like my mother's so into the church, she watches church on TV and YouTube. She's into the church, right? Like for me, I like the church, but the kind of church, my mother went to this one church in Florida, and I really liked going to that church because it wasn't a, hey, put on a suit and go to church. It was more of a come as you are, because, it doesn't matter what you wear, just come and hear the word. So, we used to come and do that. And, they had some cute girls there too. I got to stop. My mom might actually watch this. But some of the things that I do as well too is like, when I come into my house, the first thing I do is I thank the Lord. I'm not trying to get religious and I'm not trying to turn anybody off that's religious, but just listen to me. I come into the house and I thank the Lord. When I wake up in the morning, I thank the Lord. When I make a meal, I thank the Lord because I'm able to open the fridge and magically, there's food in there. Well, there's no magic. I work for it, but I put the food in the fridge and I'm smart enough to prepare a meal and feed myself, and it's nourishing. So I thank the Lord for that. So I thank the Lord. I wouldn't say I'm super religious, but I'm saying with all the experience that I've had within religion, I feel that I have a belief.
Okay. I mean, gratitude is super important, and gratitude for everything you've got, everything that's brought you to where you are is super important, as far as, especially like when you're trying to create bigger and better things in your life. If you're not grateful for what you already got, you're going to just dig yourself into a hole.
Right. Because here's the way I look at it. Corey, there's so many times in my life that pro wrestling has been right in front of me, and it veers off on this road and I go this way. But eventually me and pro wrestling, we meet again, and then we veer off again, and then we meet again. and we just keep veering off. And it's like pro wrestling, I'm supposed to either be this world-renowned pro wrestler, or pro wrestling is supposed to be the platform that opens up the doors for me to become a bigger entertainer. Because one of the things I want to do, many things I want to do, I want to be a bus driver, I want to be in the city, I want to drive the train, I want to be a conductor, but I always want to be on the radio. I always felt that I was a radio personality. I used to think, and I still think, it's so cool that somebody wakes up every single morning, gets dressed to go to their shitty ass job that they don't even like their boss, but the best part of their day is that time that they spend in the car listening to a radio show doing drive time when they're either going to work or they're coming home for the day. Right. Or you know what? Maybe you have the radio on during the day and you look forward to hear what Tristen Law has to say. That's what I like. That's why I want to be a radio. So maybe that's what pro wrestling is doing for me. It gives it's built this Rolodex of people that I can reach out to go ahead and appear on my podcast. Because honestly, if life didn't happen, I would have never been in the situation to where I could have met our friend Dave Lee from Dave Knows Wrestling on YouTube. I would have never been able to meet him, which would have never led me to meet you, to be on my podcast, which would have never led us to being here right now. Because look, I'm no idiot. If it wasn't for my podcast or anything else, most people wouldn't want to talk to me. What have I really done in the span of pro wrestling for people to want to talk to me?
Right. Yeah. I feel very much the same. It's like, and it's hard to find yourself not taking that a little bit personally and removing your feelings from that. Because with me, I'm like, I just gave the last 19 years of my life, 19 plus years, because 19 years as Corey Castle, but a couple years before that as other. So it's like, oh, what do I have to show for it? And what have I done to have people? But at the same time, man, in that I've built a voice. I've built experience that lends to expertise. Like when it comes back to me saying, which I've said on the podcast a million times, you don't really know what you want until what you want staring right at you.
You're right.
But when I was a kid, I wanted to be a comedian and I wanted to be a wrestler. Those are the things I wanted to be. I didn't know I wanted to be a podcaster because podcasting didn't exist.
Facts.
So you got what you want. What you want is going to find you while you're out there doing the work. You can't just go, well, I'm lost. And like exactly like please apply this stuff too. Like if you're hearing me and you feel what I'm saying, like take this with you. You know Messiah? Do you know who Billy Messiah is? William Welsh? He was a wrestler back in the day. He got attacked when they took his thumb. They took his thumb. People broke into his house and cut his thumb off with lawn, like bolt cutters.
Yeah.
Hedge clippers. They cut his thumb off. And he was on like America's Most Wanted. And that happened to him in the beginning of August of 2003. And in the end of August, he came back to wrestling. He just had a bandage over his hand and over his thumb. And I was in the locker room with him, and he set up with the video camera guys. We're standing right next to him, and he said, "You see this? This is just an obstacle. This is very much just an obstacle. I'm gonna get over this. I'm gonna get through this, and I'm gonna be back to whatever I did, and that'll be a little pain on you, whoever did it. That might be a little pain on you, but to me, I'm not focused on your pain. I'm focused on my gain." Like in that promo, I then started looking at anything that was like just a problem as an obstacle. And when it came to eventually me having the brain surgery and needing all that, I was like, this is just a bump in the road. This is just an obstacle, or a bump in the head, if you will.
Right.
But it was just, and that was part of why I wanted to have this platform, so that I could have Billy on my podcast and be like, do you understand how important that moment was for me? You understand how much that meant to me? And I just want to take the time to really on the record tell you how grateful I am. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have this platform and have this voice and continue to do that. And that's why always want to make sure I tell you on the record, I absolutely appreciate you. I appreciate your energy. I notice how much you're grinding and hustling, and I see you. I hope you know that I see you, and I hope you feel heard and seen. Because if it ain't now, it'll be later. It's gonna pay off for you.
Well, thank you. It's so. You know how you had to, like how you said earlier, how you had to check yourself on social media. I had to check myself a couple months ago as well too. I said we water a plant, right? We plant the seed and we water and we watch it grow. There's no seed that I can think of that you planted and tomorrow it's a full-blown tree. Mm-hmm. So like for me, every morning that I wake up, I check that flower. I check that plant to see if it's grown, and it's still growing. And I'm waiting for that tree to come, because to put that in layman's terms, every morning I wake up and I check my email. Maybe somebody wants me to host their podcast and actually pay me money for it. Maybe somebody wants me to edit their podcast or produce their podcast, or, maybe AEW wants me to come on as a podcast, or maybe WWE wants me to be a podcaster, maybe MLW wants me to be a podcaster. I don't know. ROH. I don't know. Maybe somebody can pull me into the wrestling business and say, hey, bro, we want to pay you to be a podcast. But I used to wake up and get so discouraged, like, man, it's still not my day. I was like, you know what? Let me just be patient, because my tree is not here yet. And one of the things I realized too, though, Corey, is that once that tree is here, that's not it. Because I had a conversation with somebody and we were talking about it. It's like, so when I get there, it doesn't mean that's it, right? I performed at a certain level to get me to the dance. Now that I'm at this dance, I need to step my level up so that people now look at me and go, wow, this guy really belongs here. And they want to strive to be like me. So in the realm of podcasting, Conrad Thompson, who does, the Bruce Pritchard podcast, the Kurt Angle podcast, the Eric Bischoff podcast, podcast, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. I want to be like him, because he wakes up and he gets to talk to 6 of the coolest people. I think that's how many podcasts he does. He gets to talk to 5 or 6 of the coolest people every day, and he gets paid for it. Right. Like you and I. So one day I'm going to get there, and I want to be able to look back at things like this and say that I grind for it. I worked for it. But I'll always never forget, because I always had this in my mentality from when I started wrestling, and I drilled this into the head of the younger wrestlers. And that is, when you're walking up to the top floor, whether you jump out the top floor window or whether you take the elevator and walk back down, or you even take the stairs, everybody that you passed on the way up, you want to pass them on the way down. So they could either cheer you on the way up and cheer you on the way down, or on the way up, as you're treating them like shit, right? When you're walking back down, they'll be kicking you in the ass down the stairs. I don't want to be kicked in the ass. I tell people, and I've said this from when I first went to wrestling school, you know what? Maybe one day I'll be famous, but you know what? I'm going to still be the same OG. I just have a little bit of more money, and I have a little bit of a nicer car. That's it. My phone number will still be the same. If you've ever had my phone number, text it. It still works. And Corey, I'm thinking about it. You don't have my phone number, so I'm going to give it to you. I don't know what you'll do with it, but take it. Use it.
Same, dude. I'm very much, dude. I've had the same phone number since like 2001,
2003.
Yeah, and I always say, like, I don't delete anybody's number. Everybody who's got my number knows that they can use it at any time. Yep. And I absolutely, it turns me like into a hypocrite sometimes. Like when I'm recording or something and someone's trying to call me, I'm like, I'll get right back. Like in my brain, I'm like, I'll get right back to you. I'm right in the middle of something. So it'll be like, I don't hate to be a hypocrite and be like, well, get a hold of me anytime, and then I don't get back to you. It's not me not getting back to you. I'll get back to you. Like that's absolutely the case. I don't want to keep anybody on red. I don't want to big time anybody, because like it sucks. It's the same thing. Like it's like this next generation that I've been teaching lessons to will get up will get to the top of the building,
Right.
and if they're up there and they're like, that dude was a dick to me,
Right.
then do they have an influence? If they have an influence to get me a spot, any of those jobs you said that, like those dream jobs, like any of those companies say, hey, we want that person, like for sure, if somebody knows me and knows that I'm somebody reliable and good at what I do, they will vouch for me instead of going, oh, that guy sucks.
Right.
Guy sucks. And I look at it I look at it this way. I say it all the time. My other friends who don't have podcasts, who I think have a unique outlook on things and have a voice that's evolved, I always say, start your own thing. You having a thing and your success it's not in competition with mine.
Right.
Because like I would rather applaud you getting somewhere and being somewhere you want to be, because I deep down I love you. I need you just as much. I need you just as much to do well as I need myself to do well. And and if I see you do it, I'm like, man, I'm inspired. So like when I see people that I know, like one of my friends just made it onto the main roster in WWE. I'm like, that's so freaking cool. Huh? Damian Priest.
You know what? I was just sitting here thinking about Damian Priest making, because I used to wrestle with him back in the day.
Yeah. He's been around for a while.
On YouTube where I wrestled him and Eddie Orengo, who's a referee for WWE.
Right, yeah. He's a Bandito Jr.
Yep. For me, like I don't have any hate in my heart that somebody else went up, because you know what? That's one of the guys that we work with that went up there. Yeah. I want those people to be successful. There's a kid I mentor right now, and I know he's going to watch this, right? His name is Brian Lynch, right? He loves wrestling so much that I think that he's going to be one of those people that makes it. Either he's going to be a referee or he's going to be a wrestler, right? He's going to be one of those two, because he's built for both. And I always told him, you know what? I didn't make it at a young age because I was too afraid to make it.
And yeah, it's I'm lending this from Aubrey Marcus. He says you got to be fit for service. So if you're called upon to do a thing, you better be fit to do the thing you're called upon to do. So when it came to that, like I said too, when I got my stuff with WWE, when I did my stuff, I wasn't ready. I wasn't good. Like I wasn't prepared for it, and I wasn't looking at it the right way. And I wouldn't blame a single soul except me. You know what I mean? Like it's for sure not up. It's not anybody else's duty to give me a spot. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like I went to a Ring of Honor tryout, and I was maybe like 260 pounds, and Jim Cornette pulled me to the side and go, "Kid, you can move. You move like the small guys. Do me a favor. Lose a little bit of weight and come back. I want to see you again." I never went back. You know why? Because I was afraid. So what I tried to preach to Brian and all the other younger wrestlers is, don't be afraid. If you want it, go get it. Because if you think that you deserve it and you're waiting for somebody to just give it to you, the person that is working for it is going to get it, right? What those mouths don't get fed. If you're sitting there to get fed, the person that's hungry is going to get fed, because they're going to go and get the food. And not only they're going to get their food, they're going to eat my food too. And you know how many times my food has been eaten? Bro, there's no reason when I was 24, right? When I was half 20. There's no reason when I was 24, 25 that I couldn't have been on WWE, right? Because I was coachable at the time. My bones didn't hurt. I was able to do what I had to do. But the reason why I didn't get to get those opportunities was I was afraid. I was always thinking, what if I was never good enough? And now at half 30, I shoot my shot a lot more, because I want to be the greatest. I want to do this with this podcast or wrestling or whatever it is that comes my way.
All right. 2 more quick things. I'll send you off into the sunset with a hot dog and a handshake.
No problem. I love hot dogs.
All right. So timestamp right now, right? Timestamp right now. It's 2021. We just got through like the weirdest year. But let's just say I'm calling this segment audio time travel. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, someone stumbles across this audio because this shit is outliving us. Whether we're here or not, there's a message that these people are going to receive from understanding what Tristen was really like and the journey that made him what he is, the life lessons that he's learned. What is the message? Audio time travel, go right into the future, and you're talking to like your family, your loved ones, your girl, your kids, whoever you want to direct a message to. What are you saying?
So if any of my family in the future ever gets this video, kids, niece, nephew, cousins, whoever, and hear that I'm a wrestler or personality, the message is, don't let anybody put you in a box. You define your box. When people say things like I'm weird, right? Because I know that I'm an eccentric kind of dude, right? And I enjoy being that. I've always been an eccentric kind of dude. Mm-hmm. But I would never say that I'm weird, because when I say that I'm weird, I'm putting myself in a box that somebody built for me. I don't want to be in somebody else's box. I want to be in my box. And you know what? I might want to paint that box too. So be you, be the purest form of you, and always be true to yourself.
I love it. I love it. So take this too if you want, like apply this, use this if you want. I've said it on the show a billion times and I'll say it probably a billion more times, but it's like I'm really careful about how I advertise myself. So I won't come out here and tell you I'm smart. I won't tell you I'm funny, because if we're talking for 10 minutes and I don't say anything funny or smart, you can be like, this dude, not only is he not funny, but he's a liar. Not only is he not smart, he's a liar. So instead, I'll let myself speak for me, who I am speak for me. So I read this in a book a while ago. He said, Napoleon Hill, he wrote, tell the world what you intend to do. Show them first. So apply that, take it, use it, however you want. Absolutely. Don't advertise yourself as be careful I don't want to say don't, just be careful about what you advertise yourself as and what you identify as. Like, sure. Be water, as Bruce Lee would say. Be water, be flexible in that.
Right.
Be fluid. So hypothetically, this is the way I wrap it up every time. Hypothetically, I'm gifting you this show. So from now on, Evolving with Tristen Law, this has been episode 1, the pilot episode of your newest podcast. In a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way, you could put a little pretty bow on it and tell everybody what lessons they can learn or what habits they can use to become, a better version of themselves tomorrow, or what are the main takeaways from this conversation. And then after you do that, in your best Alf impression, you say, "Hey, Willie," just to keep it silly.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for watching episode 1 of Evolving with Tristen Law. I hope that you had a great time. Corey, I hope that you had a great time on my show as well, too. From this episode, I hope that you get that you can get what you want if you work for it. Everybody has a struggle. You might be looking at the person next to you on the highway, and they may be going to the same exact place where you're going, but you may be taking the long road. And just because you take the long road, it doesn't mean that you will never get there. Hey, Willie! Until next time on Evolving with Tristen Law. Corey, it was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, man. I just want to say, anybody who's listened to the show, if this is your first time checking out Evolving with Corey Castle, go back and check out the other 220 some episodes on any of the podcast streaming apps. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get new episodes every Monday. Check out the YouTube page. The video element is the brand newest thing of the show, and I'm digging the way it looks. So check it out, youtube.com/Corey Castle. Hit that subscribe button so that you'll get notified every single time a new episode drops. And thanks so much for the currency of your effort being paid to me and your attention. Tris, dude, I just want to make sure this is beat into your brain so you know this. If there's any way I can be a resource for you in anything you ever need to talk to me about, absolutely reach out to me. And I'm pleased that this is still just the very beginning for us.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? For people watching, you and I have never met each other in face-to-face. Never.
Right.
Never.
No, yeah.
I don't know how tall you are as compared to me. I don't know what you smell like. I don't. I'm not going to smell you. Don't worry. But you know what? I can consider you a friend, even though we've never met each other. We're like pen pals.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful part of the world right now. A lot of people who I'm closest with at the very moment are people who I haven't met in real life. And I'm pleased to be able to have you on that list.
Well, thank you very much. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Everybody, look out for the Tristen Law Show. New episodes every Wednesday at TristenLawShow.com and where you find podcasts.
Be fun. Have safe. Keep evolving.